Welcome back to the Level Up Podcast. Today's guests are Sam and Bec Wilkes from Adelaide, who are also West Coast swing dancers, teachers, proud parents of a pretty young family, I would say. And today we're going to talk a little bit about your dance history and your dance journey, and also diving into what it's like becoming new parents while you're teaching at a dance school and sort of juggling that activity. And there's a little bit of shared history here for the people that don't know. I actually won my newcomers competition with Bec's sister, Megan, back in 2021 at Swing Station. Shout out to Alan Skinner and Zach and Maddie. And also that year, I did a Pro-Am routine with Kim at Simply Adelaide and was invited to do a spotlight dance with Bec, which it lives on YouTube, and it's so bad, but, but you were amazing. So welcome, Sam and Bec.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks, Steve. That was a really nice intro. Yeah, very excited to chat to you.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys. We saw each other recently at Revitalize. Mm-hmm. Got to watch some spotlight dances, which was cool. And Sam, as usual, competing against me and putting the pressure on and all the stuff. How did you enjoy Revitalize?
Great fun. Yeah, it's good. And we'll talk about what life's like with kids. But yeah, we had them along with us. Had a great weekend though. Just the level of the pros and the performances and the workshops, like Brady and Janine don't hold anything back, right? They just put it all out there. So yeah, amazing.
I think second year they stepped up. I mean, first year they really showcased an incredible event. Like I've never seen a first year event run that well last year. And then this year I feel like they ironed out a few of those kinks that are classic first year event kinks. And just the content is really what drives us to want to attend that. Like the information we get in those workshops is just so good.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of Glenn Ball, so that was nice.
How good was, if anyone's listening, and they go to the Revitalize YouTube channel, but how good was Glenn Ball and Brad's balloon or bouncing ball routine that turned into the balloon routine?
Hilarious, absolutely.
Yeah, we were there at Best of the Best when they did the original pink ball, and
really?
We were just losing it, like when they did it then, and then recreating it, and then going a different direction was, like they've got such a similar mind when it comes to just entertainment and making a crowd happy and laughing, and
a really good showman. And it was just an original thing, and it was kind of lighthearted. You know, it's good to see. It was a bit of fun, and it was really, really cool. I have watched the ball routine before on YouTube as well. It's pretty popular with the Perth dance crew. Like they really enjoyed that one. And so,
have you recreated it?
No, I wouldn't. But it was really good. It's good to see it. I think, I think you nailed it. It was really well run. It was great to see everyone. And I think the thing that I love is when you go to an event like that, similar to Simply Adelaide, which is one of my favorite Aussie events, the community coming together and just supporting what's happening locally, but welcoming everyone. It's just such a good feeling. So really nice to be there. I wanted to just ask you both, because you guys started West Coast Swing before my time. So I kind of wanted to ask you, like, when did you start West Coast Swing? How did you get into it? And how did you find it?
Well, I've been doing it longer than Sam, probably close to 15, just over 15 years now. I started in early uni days. I was sort of dragged along by a friend to a come and try sort of dance night. And I was looking for an outlet to do something else social and, a young adult kind of curious about dance, but it's never been a huge part of my life. Like I sort of did some solo dancing in high school, like jazz and things, but it was definitely slightly more my sister's thing, hilariously. Right. And then I found partner dancing and was like, oh, wow. And I initially went just to some modern jive classes that Brady ran. And I met Russell and Jane, and Russell was like, you need to come to West Coast classes, which was on a Thursday, and I was coming to the Tuesday. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll give it a go. And I came along and then I went every possible available thing. Like I think it was hooked after the first night of trying it out. I kept doing modern jive on the side, but that only lasted for about 6 months and then was like straight into West Coast full time, basically. So yeah.
I had no idea of any of this stuff. Like you mentioned Russell and Jane. I'm like, I didn't know they're dancing for that long.
Yeah,
I didn't even know Sophie
they've hit
was
20
Jane's
years
daughter.
now, so yeah. Sorry?
I didn't know that Sophie was Jane's daughter either.
Yeah.
And then as soon as she told me, I'm like, of course she is. She looks just like you.
I know, right? You can see it straight away.
But yeah, I don't know any of this. So what about you, Sam? When did you start?
So we had a common friend. His name is Bo. He worked with me. That's how I knew him, and he'd been coming to classes for like 6 months, West Coast swing classes. So that's how Bec knew him. He was moving back to Sydney, so we had a farewell party and invited all sorts of people. So work people were there, dance people were there, and Isla and Bec were like, oh, got some young engineers right for the picking here.
In all seriousness, we were literally just like
Really?
recruiting. Like we just
they went around the table, went around the bar, and like chatting to all the guys, and sat down next to me and like, man, look at these 2 cute girls having a chat with me. Oh, so yes, immediately noticed Bec, and she's like, "Come along to dance." I'm like, okay.
Right. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so there I was the following Thursday, and yeah, we started dating like a few weeks after that. So it's great.
Oh wow! Like straight in. This is part of the package. You join up, sign up for beginners, and then you get a first date.
Pretty much.
I mean, I wasn't teaching yet at that stage. I was still just a student that was super hooked. But we always need more leaders. And I don't know what it is, but West Coast Swing seems to attract a lot of engineers. And so when you're in a room full of a bunch of engineers, I was like, these people are going to like West Coast Swing. So I think we recruited a few people that night. But to be fair, I reckon Sam came like 80% because he wanted to ask me out and 20% because he wanted to dance.
At the start. I'd done a bit of dancing before. I did Lindy Hop back when I was still at uni, a little bit of salsa, like my brother, and he's got some friends who are teachers, so I did a bit of salsa with them. But I hadn't been dancing for years, and then Bec said, come along to a class. So yeah, it was mostly you, but as soon as I started to come to class, you get hooked pretty quickly. It's such an incredible dance. So, yeah.
What do you think it is, or for you guys at least, what is it about West Coast Swing that you say like you got hooked? Is it the music? Is it the feeling? Is it the environment of the people? Or like for you guys, what was it?
Number one for me is the community, the people for sure. But you could say that about any hobby or any interest. But with the dance itself, I just love that West Coast is so versatile in terms of the music you can dance to, like tempo. You can dance from 60 up to 150 if you're feeling lucky, BPM. Any style of dance, any style of music that's kind of 4/4, you can pretty much dance West Coast Swing to. And within that, the dance changes with the music and with your partner. I feel like most other dance styles are a lot more rigid or narrow in terms of what they look like or what kind of music you can dance to. So yeah, it's just so expressive from that point of view.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very similar. The classic is community hooked me, like the human beings I was interacting with. But in particular, I would say I continue to still try out other partner styles to see why it was West Coast I kept coming back to. Like we tried a few ballroom styles, I tried a few Latin styles, and I think where I kept wanting to kind of give up on those styles after trying them for 6 months would be generally I would hit this precipice of, sure, there's a lot of growth on technique or skills I could develop in this style, but I will probably never be able to contribute a shared energy transfer, connection, conversation like I can in West Coast. So West Coast feels a lot more like endless in its growth and potential. So that's what I enjoy about it, is there's sort of, just so much more open to you and how you can explore it and how you can express it. So, yeah.
I love that concept too, because there's some people that you dance with that you pick up on their flavor of whatever they're doing, and then it changes what you do day in, day out in your dancing, because they have a certain groove or a certain style or a certain bounce or the way that they move or something they hear in the music, and it changes what you're doing. And then you go back to someone else, and then it's a totally different flavor, even though it could even be a very similar song. It's like their personality draws you in. Like an example I would give you is at Revitalize, I danced with Zoe a few times.
Oh, yeah.
So Zoe's got her own groove, and every time we ever dance, she's always like, you need to do more of this. and she tells me, like, add more of the hip hop stuff into it. And then, funnily, she's the only one that I can do that with, or the only one that I've ever experienced that with, because that's her personality in the dance, and it brings that out in me. But when I dance with everyone else, I can't seem to make it happen. It's just because I'm adapting to whatever they're doing, and it's something different.
Yeah, Zoe is an incredible person, one of my closest friends, and thankfully back in Adelaide again, teaching with us, and is just this incredible human being that is also not shy to kind of be upfront with someone and say it out loud, as well as dance it with them. Like she's happy to say, hey, you should do more of this. You look great doing this. Yeah. And I think sometimes we're all a little too shy to say that to one another as dancers, because you don't want to be seen to be judging somebody, but she never comes across as judgmental. She's always really encouraging and supportive in that way. And that's what 100%. I love about her.
Yeah. I think the fact that she's got her own style, and like Bec's got her own style, which are very different styles, but they pull exactly like you were saying, they pull stuff out of you, right? And that's I think Wade so will like strictly switch with each other. Yeah. It's just that like you're pushing each other's boundaries.
We do love dancing together.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's that's very cool to hear. For me, the first thing was the music, because I'd done salsa first. Like I'm a hip hop guy, but like when I got back to it, when I was 48. My mate started doing salsa, and he didn't tell me this. He lives in Japan, and he said, hey, one of my friends has gone dancing, and he's doing all this salsa stuff. What do you think? And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he goes, actually, it's me. I just didn't want to tell you, because he used to give me so much crap when we were teenagers, because I was a dancer, a dancer. And so, back then it was, I was gay or whatever because I danced. Yes, I'm that old, but.
Zoe said you're an incredible hip-hop dancer from what I heard.
Thanks. Thanks, Zoe. Shout out to Zoe. We think you're pretty cool at hip-hop as well. She's unreal. So then I went and did salsa for like 9 months, and then I went to a social on one of the nights, and I just wasn't really grooving, and I sat down and I thought, okay, the next song I really like, I'll get up and dance. And I sat down for 10 songs and went, I'm out. Yeah. That's it. And I told my teacher, and she said, why'd you leave so early? And I said, I didn't really groove on the music. And she knew I was hip hop. And she said, why don't you try West Coast Swing? Because she also teaches that. And then as soon as I went to class and she's playing this music, actually I saw Kyle Red and Victoria Henk dancing to Young and Stupid on YouTube. And I went, is this what you mean? Like this? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, are you going to teach me this? She's like, yeah. And that's it. So then when I went, it was like, this music's cool. Like, there's some songs that, you just feel it. Like, unfortunately, with some of the slowing down, it feels like there's a lot of elevator music playing where it doesn't there's nothing in it. It's just blah.
Yeah. But then when they play. The way pop music's going as well, like kind of comes in and out of what you like. So,
yeah. But then when they play a banging song and you're like, I want to dance. Like, this is awesome. David Fan to Britney Spears. He's up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I did want to touch on a few things with you in this conversation. And the first one is really about starting a family and how that kind of affects dancing, because I've got 4 friends from Perth who, 2 couples who have started their family, and juggling their day-to-day jobs, raising kids and all that has had a massive effect on their ability and time to dance and to invest. And they were all teachers as well. So giving to the community, they've had to really pull back. And I see that, as part of Happens Dance in Adelaide, which is the dance school there, or one of them now, you guys played a big role in teaching. And then kind of my understanding is that a team evolved, and then more people helped carry the load when you needed some to back off a little bit. But I'd love to hear sort of your story of how you navigated that And maybe even before we get to that part, maybe chat a little bit about when you decided to have kids, were you kind of going, how's this going to play out? Like, was that a worry for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few questions within that, but I think
There's a lot.
Yeah.
It's like when do we start teaching?
I mean, maybe I'll backtrack to like kind of the evolution of how Happenstance started for us and how that kind of then changed as well. So I guess Happenstance was owned by Sam and I. So we launched that school in 2018 when Brady approached us, because Third Foot was the primary school in Adelaide, because it was only the one school. And then he decided he couldn't facilitate that because he'd moved to Melbourne, and he was sort of trying to run it from Melbourne with the support of, we were teaching for him and a number of other people, Craig and Sophie and a few other people you've referenced, were all teaching for him, but it wasn't really manageable. And he said he kind of was keen to pass the baton, if you will, but he didn't want to sell us Third Foot. So instead we launched Happenstance, but essentially it was like a handshake of like, yep, we took over the lease of the hall. We literally started classes the next week. There was an announcement process for a month or two in the lead up. We took over everyone's class passes that were already existing and just kind of almost continued things on. But we did relaunch the brand and the structure in a new way, because obviously we wanted to try and reinvigorate some life into it. And at that point, we didn't have kids. So 2018, we were very enthusiastic about West Coast, traveling up the wazoo. We'd been to the US Open and TAP and Budapest, and that year we went to Asia Open.
Wow.
And we were just traveling constantly and enjoying West Coast. So we were really able to bring a lot back to the community. We also started like a junior teacher program. So we had like a bunch of upcomers that were putting a lot of time and energy that then joined our teaching team, like Tom Reardon joined the teaching team at the time, and Tegan and Sonia and Annabelle and a few others that hadn't yet taught. So we had these other people. Isla joined the teaching team. So it was like, it was a really good opportunity for expansion. And then Zoe did as well. And we enjoyed that.
It was busy. We were planning our wedding at the same time as well. It was, all going on.
It was a bit hectic. We also renovated a house.
Yeah,
so
right.
A lot happened, and had our day jobs. But we were just so passionate and excited. So we just fit it in our spare time. I'd say a lot of lack of sleep and just making things work in those early days. And then when we wanted to start a family, we were trying to have a family. We were coincidentally fell pregnant right when COVID hit. And that was completely coincidental and kind of a thankful situation, because then what happened was we had to close the school for 6 months and sort of take our foot off the accelerator, because we'd been kind of going full pelt. And I don't think we would have known how to slow down.
That was kind of right after Simply Adelaide, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like literally the week after Simply.
Yeah, or Simply's November. So I suppose COVID sort of hit March-ish. But yeah, we had the first Simply Adelaide in 2019.
But that was just after stuff like after the borders and stuff started opening back up a bit. And yeah, Simply was the first event. So Simply didn't miss a year.
But it still ran in 2020, and I was super heavily pregnant that year.
I was actually getting mistaken, because in 2021 when I was at Simply, it was the day after I flew back, Mark McGowan shut the state border. That's what happened. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was 2020. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was pretty hectic for us. So our first daughter, Ada, was born in beginning of 2021. And that was, I guess there's a little bit of a, what is COVID, what is having kids in some ways as to how things transitioned for us. But we did find that we unfortunately initially lost a lot of our support network in the school that we'd had for 2018, 2019, in 2020, 2021, because of the fact that we had people that were really scared of COVID, understandably, and they didn't really want to come to an environment with partner dancing. So it was a really hard time. And in 2021, when our daughter was maybe about 10 months old, our eldest, we spoke to the teaching team and decided that we were going to change the school to a once a month format, because we couldn't sustain weekly classes and socials and workshops, and that we were really keen to see people fill the space, like who would like to run weekly classes, and instead we'll just run to once a month. And
so, I mean, leading up to that, we were running weekly classes. We were both there every week. So I think
we would just have the baby in the corner in the pram and make it work.
Ada was 6 weeks old, I think, when we started going back to class. And she was amazing, like such an easy baby. She just put her in the pram to fall asleep. And
I mean, she wasn't always an easy baby. I mean, saying that in hindsight, but I would say we just had to. We were forced to because we owned the school and we were responsible. So therefore, we just had to bring her along a lot more. And I'd say Sam stepped up heaps. If I couldn't, like, it would be like a sharing situation.
Yeah. And we always said, like, when
that's what engineers do, right, Sam?
Exactly.
Yeah, 50-50, something like that.
Yeah.
But when we had lots of conversations before we had kids about what did we want our lives to be like once we had kids, right? And we both said that we love our lives, like we love everything we do in our lives, and we don't want to stop doing anything that we're currently doing just because we've got kids. Like, we know it's going to change, and we won't be able to do as much as we used to. We won't be able to travel overseas as much, but we're still going to do that. We won't be able to do dancing as much, but we still want to do it. So, like, it was never a consideration that we would step back from class and stop coming for a period of time. So it was just a kind of a natural continuation for us. But like I said,
sorry.
Yeah, you go.
I was going to say, Sam, just on that, the thing that I do like to hear about this, and I kind of wanted just to pause on this point that you make about that. You already said, well, you still want to do all the things that you love in your life. I'm just going to throw this out there because I'm a bit more old school. But back when I had my son, my wife and I said the same thing, where he's a part of our life, not the other way around. I feel like almost parenting these days has been flipped over, where people go, well, this, the kid has to be in bed by this time, has to be fed by this time, I'm going to take all the snacks and whatever. And it's like professional parenting. But, my generation, we were free range kids, right? Like, go out, play, just, when the sun's going down, be home for dinner sort of thing. And I feel like we've kind of lost a bit of that. But I like the idea that you sort of said, well, this is what you're doing. We're bringing our daughter with us and she'll be a part of it. And I think there's a lot of people that are kind of hesitant to do that, but it's kind of not that scary once you do it. They're just there and they accept it and they're in that environment. And if anything, I would say they actually get more social interaction and become they kind of like build friendships with other adults and things like that, and it's actually really healthy, I think.
And then that dance community has turned into a support network for us as well, right? So we've got friends who, if we're at dance, we don't have a dance, like there's 10 people who can say, hey, you watch Ada? And they're like, yes, please. Or if we need babysitting or something like that, we've got all these extra people who are happy to help out, that sort of thing. So,
and beyond that, also part of our children's network of safety, like there's some people that they've met and built relationships with in that community that they also feel safe with now, which is so wonderful.
That's great.
But yeah, I mean, to touch on your point, I don't disagree in some ways that people find it harder in modern society because parenting has become quite a lot of social pressure attached to it.
And definitely
I think there's often
a lot more.
Yeah, there's a huge magnifying glass on sort of the activity, and it's really hard not to be kind of judging yourself. I think society isn't actually judging most parents unless you see a kid being hurt or, abused in some way, which is horrific. But generally speaking, most of that pressure comes from themselves and they think, I have to do it perfectly because I've seen X, Y, and Z parents do it that way. But you're only seeing a tiny snapshot of their life. Like, you're not able to see the full lens. So, and I also take it with a grain of salt. We're up to our 9th baby in our teaching team. So it's very exciting. We only have 2 kids, but so we had Ada was the first, and then out of our teaching team, there's been a lot of babies since. And so none of those teachers have left our teaching team as a result. Amazing. So we're super stoked to see that.
So you guys have kind of actually pioneered that in Adelaide and shown, led the way and shown other people it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think they're all their own humans that have a success in their own way. But we've certainly fostered a culture.
Yeah, I feel like it's also, having a good example of what it can be. I think that's really important, because it's like the other side of what you just said, Beck, is the scrutiny and the fact that there's a lot of, I'm going to say, mainstream pressure for parents to live up to some kind of weird standard. That kind of is almost unrealistic, in my opinion, with a lot of areas. And then you get these mums competing with who got the most nutritionally valuable lunch pack today versus, and it's like, hey, just calm down, a Vegemite sandwich is going to be okay for today. Like,
absolutely.
But also I think if you've pioneered that a little bit and fostered that culture, I think that's really healthy for the community, like you say. Plus, you're not losing valuable people from the community, who bring so much to the community. And it doesn't surprise me that you say this, actually, because of just my experience of when I go to Simply Adelaide, and in the occasions that I get there a day early and go to the Happenstance social. It's like it really feels like a great community to be in. So good job, guys.
We love it. You'll love our new venue when you come visit next, Steve. We've upgraded venues now, and it's much nicer.
I've spied it. It looks pretty impressive. Yeah.
We've had like the other parents, new parents who've had kids since we had Ada. We've had so much positive feedback about the fact that to them we were role models, and like that wasn't what we were thinking about at the time. We were just, I don't know, doing what we wanted to do and parenting the way that we wanted to parent. But it's really nice to get some of that positive feedback. But like Beck said, they only see this much of our parenting life. They don't see what happens when we get home from dance, or what happens on weekends, or kids can be difficult. Like any kid can be difficult at times, right? So
they're unique human beings in themselves. So it's hard to say, oh, this would definitely work for all parents, because it wouldn't, because all kids are unique. So
and job environments and all the rest. There's so many factors.
All those things.
For sure. But can I just say, well done, for like doing it and actually making those decisions and being that to the community is like exceptional, I think.
Thank you. But that's a good kind of loop back to where Beck was saying, when Ada was sort of 10 months old, that's when it was getting stressful. We were exhausted, basically. And the passion for the dance was, it ebbs and flows. I think when you're in a dance community, if you teach too much, then you don't have the passion so much for maybe doing the social dancing side of it, or if you've got to do all the bookkeeping, then the Thursday nights become a bit of a chore, right? It's like, oh no, I don't want to go tonight because of X, Y, and Z. So once that kind of first honeymoon period of excitement of running a dance school and, oh my god, this is amazing, once that had sort of worn off a bit, it was a bit of a slog. So that's when we reached out to the community and said, look, we can't keep doing this the way we're doing it, running it just the two of us, with full responsibility. We had a bunch of other teachers teaching for us, which was great. But we were doing all the admin, we were doing the books, we were financially responsible for everything. So that's when we said, we want to take it back to just maybe being once a month. And our amazing teaching community said no.
We were kind of surprised at how much they were all like, don't take this away from us, we need this. And that was a big reflection for us as to how much our community itself was also a really good resource for people's mental well-being. And we were like, oh, we didn't know this in this light. It was it hit them really hard, and there was like, is there anything we can do? So we started kind of spitballing, well, what is it that's really our big problem here? And it was the idea that it was like, the responsibility is just not shared. So that's when we proposed the idea of being committee run and turning into like more of a not-for-profit structure, which is what we started transitioning to in 2022. And so now it's still run fairly similarly. We've refined it a lot more, but it's a committee structure with subcommittees, and every 6 weeks, because we run beginner 6-week blocks, there is a new manager or coordinator that takes a role from the committee. So it rotates through the committee as to who wants to nominate themselves. And considering you only have to do one 6-week block maybe every 18 months. It's a pretty minimal commitment for people to just be in charge for 6 weeks.
Yeah, so they're in charge of who's rostered on door, who's doing admin, who's the DJ this week, who are the teachers. We've got 4 classes per night, so we like to mix up the couples there, making sure that we've got the bag with all the admin
resources, all of the things that
speakers are set up before class, all those sort of things that just becomes a burden if it's just one person doing it non-stop. But 6 weeks, that's pretty manageable, and then it rotates, and it's working really well for us.
And it gave everyone some really great perspective as to how much goes in behind the scenes. I think until people have to take on that burden, they were just like, oh yeah, you just kind of rock up. You've got like set up and pack up and you've got all this stuff to do. But it was like, no, there's so much more that happens to make a weekly class run beyond just the night of. So yeah, it was really great to have this new structure. And I didn't genuinely think it was going to be sustainable. And I thought, oh, we'll get a year or 2 out of it this way. And then hopefully someone will be keen to take over and we'll just hand the baton over. But in the end, it's worked really well. And we just have such a great committee and group. And then thankfully when Mirabella was moving to Adelaide, we had friends of ours that run another school, Quick Steps, reach out to us, and Pete and I had started teaching their teachers to teach West Coast. Pete Bradley, sorry. Because they were going to be launching West Coast swing classes. But they really needed teaching resource that was more experienced in West Coast swing. And so we were going to lend them some of our teachers, just because growth is growth. Like, we are not of the belief that more schools is better. So we were like, there should be another school in Adelaide.
At least.
Yeah. And so when Mirabella was moving to Adelaide, I was like, hey, so we did the intro and we're like, do you want to work more hours, more full-time, blah, blah, blah. And we did the intro and they were very keen to hire her and she was keen for that. And so that's been such a blessing for us because, again, even then we've hit this new age where we've had even more growth just because of the fact that there's a secondary sub-community or I mean, I still think we're one community. We're so shared. Like, the dancers who are absolutely hooked go to both schools. Yeah. So,
a little dance weekend event coming up in a couple of weeks' time, which Quick Steps is hosting, but I'm sure.
Yeah, and we've been promoting it, and then they promote our stuff, and Mirabella still teaches for Happenstance. So it's very much like a very shared component, and even our teachers sometimes help Mirabella out with workshops. So it's not a single community. It's not a single school that's just doing everything.
I guess it's similar to what Melbourne's doing at the moment, right? Because they've got
they're up to like so many schools.
different schools and teachers and stuff. So, and they're all so supportive of each other, and
it's
you go revitalize and they give calls out to everyone there. So
and I remember sitting there, Brady's like, hang on, I've just got 7 more to go. Come on, Brady. But it's good that there's so much going on like that as well. And like when communities play now, it's one of the things that I say here in my local community is like, if everyone just says, well, it's the dancers first, like if our priority is West Coast swing and the community, personalities and whatever else can all come second, put the community first, and it kind of plays out that way. You're trying to do what's best for the community as a whole, citywide.
And that's always been what Happenstance is about. It's about how do we grow this dance and grow this community. Like we're not officially not for profit, not as charity, but all the money
we're working on it.
Any money that comes in the door goes back reinvested into training our teachers, getting a better dance hall that we've just upgraded to. How are we going to sustain this and how we're going to grow it in the future? So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just can I ask you? Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Can I ask a question on something? Beck, when you said Third Foot, was it?
Yeah. Third Foot was Brady's school.
Third Foot shut down and then started. And then you mentioned just quickly that some of the format kind of changed in the early days because you had your ideas and things like that. When you switch to this model where you have now a committee of people and different rotations and stuff, my guess would be that you have some principles in place of how you would like beginners to run and introduce formats and stuff like that. But what I wanted to ask is, seeing this firsthand myself, where you have a lot of community members who have their own opinions and ideas, and if they're running something for a certain amount of time, they want to have the freedom to kind of pursue that. How did you manage that? Like, have you managed that by sort of saying, here's the strict rules of what has to happen if it's a happenstance program? Or do you say, look, so long as you're ticking these boxes, how you deliver it, or maybe some of the words that you use and the way the definitions that you use are okay? Like, is it more of a loose, relaxed structure because the community is having their input? Because you have so many experienced dancers. Do you want them to give their perspective, or do you kind of control it?
Yes. So to answer your question, there is a fair bit of structure behind the scenes because of the fact that we know, and it's the main reason why we haven't become a sporting not-for-profit charity with full membership access. Because if we did full membership access and became officially a not-for-profit, every single person that came to our classes would have voting rights on how our committee is structured. So we have decided to keep it still as a business that is run like a not-for-profit, so that the money is sat separately and the full committee has full transparency of that and make the financial decisions. But the committee has been selected by us initially and then kept that way for a period of time. So we have position descriptions for each of the different types of roles, and a committee member needs to be a teacher and they need to have been in our community for a certain number of time, or they have to be a senior admin person that contributes. So they can't just be someone who helps out. We have additional people that support underneath that, but they don't get voting rights. So our committee at the moment is actually only 12
only
at the moment. It was 15 at one point, but we've lost Emery and Tony and Tom Reardon. So it's changed a little bit, just like due to people moving interstate, not changing their life. But we definitely have set some ground rules around, like, okay, if you're the manager for 6 weeks, you can't completely decide to change the structure of the content. So the curriculum, for example, gets reviewed every year and everyone can have an opportunity to provide feedback and insight, and it gets released and then it's like signed off. So you couldn't change the curriculum, but some of the curriculum is also just a guide anyway. Some of it's quite explicit for level 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 is more guiding principles.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky. So the curriculum, so we've got Craig, Sophie and Bec are our kind of senior teachers. And they get to write the curriculum, and then we all get to discuss it and pick holes in it and that sort of stuff. But generally, and that works really well. I don't think everyone else wants to design this curriculum, you know. But luckily, I think they're all very like-minded in the way that they think about dance. I think, you know, because they all learned from Brady and the way that Brady did his GSDTA kind of, you know, he brought back from the States was the way that these guys learned. So I think they've all got a similar way of thinking about dance. And I think that makes it easy in terms of coming up with a curriculum that everyone's happy with.
Absolutely. Yep. And I've often discussed this with a lot of other community groups and happily shared our curriculum and talked about it, because at the end of the day, I've asked a few times, and even talking with Emma recently, if the World Swing Dance Council could provide more resources to local communities, because when we started out, writing curriculum is hard. It is not easy. It is hard to make those decisions. And we made a lot of mistakes before we got to a point where we were actually pretty happy with some of the structure we've put in place. But unfortunately, the World Swing Dance Council find that very difficult because it's quite complex how many schools of thought are out there. How could they potentially align with a particular school of thought? Not only that, there are a lot of people that earn money, right, through releasing this content. So they need to be able to not undermine that opportunity for business, right? And I think that's something that probably we haven't touched on, is that we have been so lucky to have the freedom to not be business minded with the school, because of the fact that we both work a day job and we weren't trying to make money out of it. So we had the luxury to build some of this community behind it, knowing that it was always about reinvesting itself back in, which, you know, absolutely, there are a lot of people making a livelihood out of dance, and as they should, and they're incredibly talented people. It makes it a little harder for them to potentially structure it in the way that we've structured things. But yeah, there is structure certainly to the committee, and a little bit of exclusiveness as to who's in it and how they can become a committee member. But every person now has equal voting rights. So the committee members, everything has to be to a vote, and we meet each quarter to review like spending on things. We can't make big purchases. without it going to vote. We can't make major changes or add new teachers or things like that unless it's decided and the committees agrees to it. So
yeah. We also try and do regular teacher training as well, often bringing external teachers in to kind of facilitate that or to teach us, just so we don't become a little microcosm or a bubble, right? It's good to know, well, what are other schools doing? What are other teachers recommending? Here's our curriculum, pick some holes in it. Like, what would you recommend to do as well? So that works well.
Yeah, interesting. I recently attended My Swing, and I'm having Han and Gus on the podcast soon to discuss this, but they did a community leaders conference.
Yeah, I was talking to Hunt about it, and he's like, I wish you guys were there. And I was like, yeah, couldn't make it to My Swing.
Seriously, it was so good. It was so good. And so we're going to recap what happened in those on the podcast. But also the thing that I think, there's two things that I got out of it personally, and you touched on it, is one of them is that a lot of these schools have structure. They bring business structure into the dance school and into the curriculum and things like that, and they totally transform everything so that there's order and there's a plan. And so even from Kyochi and Kia, who are DJs, in their session, Kia was saying, hey, here's our structure of how we actually train our DJs, and we have mentoring sessions, and then we let them do this many sets. And, while the head DJ or the coach DJ is looking over their shoulder to help them analyze the room and fade music in and out and like do all this stuff. And it's like, hang on, what, you're doing this for DJs? Like, how cool is that community? And then they have like this whole community of DJs that then, so one's not exhausted and all the rest. But that theme ran through the whole conference. And so you're kind of talking about this, like with the committee, and then, working out what your curriculum is, and then reviewing it every year, and then setting it out. And you've got senior dancers who've, I don't know what rank Sophie is, but like I know she's exceptional as a dancer, and yourself, Bec, and then also Craig, who's now All-Star, and congrats, Craig. And then, and love the dance and are able to put things together. And one of the comments, and I made this comment to Robert Royston, who was at My Swing, is I said, I kind of get annoyed by this, right? But you touched on it, Bec, in that you have dance professionals who have a lot of knowledge and they should be paid for their expertise, right? 100%. But we have so much structure in classes like Happens Dance. I brought this up with Tristan and Angelica, and Tristan and I always rib each other every time we see each other at comps. We I was going to say shoot the shit, but I don't know if any of the other international community will know what that means. But we like talk about all things dance, right? And I said to him, why aren't you releasing this? Like, the stuff that they do, but it's their IP and all the rest of it. But it's like everyone is being forced to reinvent the wheel. And you touched on the WSDC. Just template some stuff and let people choose if they want it or not. And then let the ones
That's what I suggested, for sure.
Yeah, there'll probably be endless arguments between the Europeans and the Americans, though, if they did that.
Oh, and then,
there will be, but America could have the American curriculum, and the Europeans can have that, and the Australians can be like, we'll take half of each.
Yeah,
and no one will be able to dance like the Australians. Watch this space. I'm going to change this. I'm going to do it through Level Up.
I'd love to see it championed, to just even support communities that are starting out. I'm
going to do this through Level Up. I'm going to make it happen. And if the WSDC wants to adopt it, great, take it off my hands. But I am going to press the point on making this happen, because I feel like there's so many communities that can benefit from it. And in part of the Level Up community, we have like a lot of young communities. I can't pronounce her name, and I want her to get on the podcast. I don't know if you know her she was in New Zealand. Her name is spelt Yazhini, but it's not pronounced that way. But she just recently moved back to India, and she's like, she hasn't been doing West Coast, and where she is, there's no West Coast schools. She's like, oh, I missed it so much. I just started, but she doesn't know how to lead. She's an intermediate follow, but she loves the dance, and so she's trying to scramble and figure it all out on her own. And it's like, why can't someone give us some resources to help? Cape Town, South Africa's new. There's so many.
So many.
Yeah, that would be great if we had some templates that they could just swipe and then use and manipulate and make their own eventually.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put the pressure on you guys releasing everything and all of your IP. Not yet,
I'm
anyway.
always happy within the Australian community with context. I've shared it to anyone I've ever talked to that is also running a school. I think always say it's never a perfect resource because it's always being changed for us, but very much like if someone reached out, I don't think I'd publish it on the website just because the committee would probably be like, oh, then our students would assume that's what they're learning, but we can often change it up on the fly on the night. So we tend not to publicly release it. We sort of give a structure, but that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Even just the overall structure to then have someone can plug it into ChatGPT and say, this is my overall structure, but this is the thing that I want to teach. Fill it out. Watch this space. Watch this space.
Yeah, exciting.
So let me ask you, I know I'm mindful of time, so I did want to ask
we keep rambling, sorry.
No, I love your conversation. I'm just mindful that we kind of booked this and I know you're busy.
I know, kids.
Kids,
they're luckily they're asleep. So
a dance school. I did want to ask, given that I want you to reflect on this for me if you can, because again, I've got friends who are new parents. My training partner, Nicole's just had her third child, so she's busy with real life as well, but still wants to grow. For me, I've taken on more of a bit more of a teaching and a mentoring role here in Perth as well. And there's the friction between what do I want to do in my dance development and then how much time I have available, the reality of running a business. I have my own business, and then I have my dance business now, which I didn't even really think about was a second job, but it is. And then I still have my own personal ambitions of what I want to achieve. And what I noticed is as I've started to give more to the community, my own development suffering because I'm spending whatever time I have preparing for what I want to teach the community. And I would imagine that this is kind of compounded if you have kids as well, because you're even more time poor. So I did want to ask you, how do you go about doing your own development, or is that something that you've almost just said, I'm happy with where I'm at and I will slow down my own development for the sake of the bigger vision?
I'd say with our weekly classes, it's harder now that we've got, with the girls their current age, 8 is 5 and Florence is 2. It's hard to bring them to class. It's got school the next day, so we can't really be keeping her up till 10 o'clock. So we're done a lot of taking turns where we'll alternate. I'll teach week 1, Bec teaches week 2. Well, not even teaches, but teaching, but attending class, right? So at least we both get to regularly go to classes, even if we're not both there together necessarily. And then I think we take the same sort of mindset as well with our own personal development. So, Bec will book in a private lesson. I'm like, yeah, I've got the kids tonight. I think it's really useful. And, not every couple is the same as us, where we're both dancers and we're both heavily involved in the community with our kids. I feel like if other couples have kids, but one of them's a dancer, maybe that's harder. Maybe the partner wouldn't realize what they need to get out of their dance life as much. But for us, we're both very like-minded. So I know that Bec wants to work on whatever, and so she's going to go get a private lesson, or she needs to be at class this week. So very, very much try and support each other through that.
Yeah, I'd say as far as development goes, you have hit the nail on the head in the sense of it's definitely slowed down, but we didn't just say, oh, it's over. But there were a few elements to that. I'd say one of the big ones was for me physically, my body changed with 2 pregnancies. So I had to deal with the fact that I had this huge belly, and I was still danced right up until I gave birth with both of my kids. I really made sure that was something I forced myself to do, even when it wasn't always the most comfortable. But even transitioning back, like your body transitioning back and your center of balance and all those things changing was hard. So I have felt my journey of dancing hasn't had a lot of growth in the last 5 years. I've kind of had this very slow, moments, but I have had incredible success in mentoring others and teaching, and I just have really enjoyed taking that role as a primary focus for this season of life. And I think that's just what we constantly remind ourselves is this is just our current season. It's not forever. Our little
It's a great
kids,
perspective.
yeah, absolutely. Our little kids will grow up and be a lot more independent. Thankfully, they still like to be dragged around to like dance events and dance things with us.
Especially with all of their friends are there, right? You know, we've got Isla and James's kids, you've got Craig's kids, you've got Tegan's kids. Like, they're all her friends. So,
yeah.
And that's really lovely to see them building their own little community, which is great. But I'd say I am not interested in not growing. Like, I've had a really fun time. I was so heavily pregnant when I did a routine with Russell. So like I did this routine, a Gang of Youth routine. It was sort of a prom, but it was really just a coaching tool to support some of Russell's growth. But in the process, I grew as well, and I really pushed myself to keep dancing. And then we did another little foursome routine, the No Roots routine, as another little growth piece, more so driven by Jane and Russell. And they were so great because they would drive to our house of an evening after we've put our kids down, and that's when we did our training, you know. And the regular intervals around that was about structuring it. So we pre-planned it, you know. We knew, okay, we want to do these training sessions. Okay, what's our actual reality of availability? With young kids, weekends are actually really hard. So generally it's like evenings or weeknights where we can, but hopefully we can be in our home. So like, for example, when people ask me for private lessons, I'm generally delivering them in my home at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday or a Monday night, because I'm not going somewhere or getting somewhere early because I'm too busy feeding my kids and sorting them out for bedtime.
Yeah.
I would rather them come to my home, and I'm very transparent about the fact that we luckily have a home that has the space and I can facilitate lessons in this space whilst my kids are asleep, and I'm like, yep, you'll be coming and the kids will be asleep, and that's, you know, very clearly communicated to them. So it's, yeah, I don't know, being able to facilitate that. I then also make sure, we've done it a few times now where one of us gets to go to an event and the other one stays home with the kids. And then
like interstate,
yeah. So I went to Best of the Best last year without Sam, and Sam went to Swing Station without me. And it was really nice to remind ourselves what it was like attending an event without our kids, because taking the kids to the event does compromise your experience big time. You really do miss a lot more. Just because
events on their own are near impossible to manage your own sleep.
Yeah.
Let alone if you're worried about your kids as well. So just having that luxury of being able to do that, I imagine, would be great. Like almost like a breath of fresh air. But
close the ballroom at 3 a.m. Your kid's still waking up at 6:30. Like, they don't care.
Because even just like we were talking about, like your own development, like I feel like that being able to do that just means that, you know, Sam, like if you're at Swing Station, you can go, well, I'm doing these workshops because I really want to be there for this. And then, you know, I'm going to spend the time squeezing in as many dances with the people in my division before the Jack and Jill. Do you know what I mean? Like just being able to have that opportunity to kind of immerse yourself. And then also I think you grow just as much from the social dancing with other people that you never really dance with a whole lot.
Oh, absolutely.
So just being able to have that time for your own growth, and amazing.
For sure. And I think we do miss what it was like pre-West Coast, pre-kids in some times. Like I think there are times, but not enough that I grieve it in the sense of like, oh, I want to go back to that. I absolutely adore my life and I wouldn't change anything about it, and having the kids involved. It's just, there are moments where it's like, oh, that was easier and that was fun and that felt really carefree in a lot of ways. And I did meet more people and dance with more people and had a much faster growth learning journey just because my interests were. But that's like all things before kids, after kids.
And not even like we're getting older, you know, our interests, our lives are changing, and our circle of friends changes. People come and people go as well. So yeah, a lot of it is kids, but a lot of it's just life as well, right? Life changes.
Yeah. It's just a season, like you said before. It's a season of, like, for you guys, it's parenting and, raising their family and being community members and like mentoring others and teaching private lessons, setting curriculum, having a board meeting, a committee meeting.
All of that.
Like
yeah, we hire a
all of this stuff.
babysitter for our committee meetings because there's so many kids. We hire a sitter to literally do a creche for the kids so that we can have the meeting. That's how we run
cool.
it. Because it's the only way we can get everyone together. And and then Sam and I also make the effort. Like we make sure we do once a month. We have a sitter so that we can both go to class together, because that's really important for our shared relationship of dance together, is to make sure that we're not just doing it always one or the other. Yeah. That's
really cool to hear. We're kind of getting to be out of time right now. So I might ask you a closing question. We've covered off so much. For the people that either are just starting a family or have, who are struggling to maybe balance dance and or they feel like they're missing out, or, because they've just started that new season of their life, what would you say to them? How would you encourage them, or what's worked for you that you feel like they might be able to try to keep dancing, keep finding that enjoyment, keep having that time just to relax and just be themselves and do something that they love, something for themselves?
Yeah. I'd say from a very engineering point of view, write down what you love in life. Like, here are the things that, you haven't had kids yet. Here are the things I've always loved doing, and prioritize them, right? Sure, you've got kids, but still make sure you get to do those things. And then, work out, what those priorities are and which ones you want to focus on. You can't do everything as much, but work out how the kids can feed into that as well.
Yeah, and for me, similar to Sam, would be make sure you're kind of exploring the mental side of things as far as your measure of success. So my measure of success when I was going to a dance weekend before I had kids was making sure I closed the ballroom and going to every workshop. I could never achieve that now. So that is not a good measure of success going forward. I would instead reset that expectation of, okay, I really want to make sure I learn from this one particular instructor and I will make it to their workshop. And so my measure of success is a lot lower now, because it's just you're setting yourself up for failure if you're like, oh, I'm going to try and do all of this. No, I will be like, this workshop and this workshop I'm in must attend, and I will communicate that up the front of the weekend with Sam, being like, these are the things I really want to get to, and I will feel great about that. Or I really want to make sure I get good social dancing on the Friday night, but I probably won't get very good social dancing on the Saturday and the Sunday, right? I'm going to probably get one night worth of decent social dancing, and making sure I try to set myself up with a more smart goal, right? Because I think a lot of parents put ridiculously unrealistic expectations on themselves, and I just think that that's so unfair on yourself, and you're going to learn to hate this environment, this community, because it is very time consuming, that you just need to work out how you're going to get that joy or that success.
So that every kid is different. Like, I think we've been super lucky with our kids being so flexible, but I'd say in general, kids thrive, right? If you take them out of their comfort zone, if you bring them along on your journey with you, they thrive in that environment, and they're so eager to learn and be part of that. That's what I found anyway. So just, try and do a little bit more.
That's amazing. I will close with this, as you're both talking about that, I often think from my professional career, there's so much that I bring across into my dance journey. And there's a couple of things, like when you talk about setting expectations or setting goals and things like that, is that having those realistic goals and being able to say, you know what, if I can just spend some time on the Friday having the social dance time, and that's my goal, it doesn't matter so much if the Saturday and Sunday happens. It, as someone who used to be a perfectionist, isn't anymore, but I had to move out of that. My performance coach said to me, picked up something with my personality where I don't ever celebrate when I complete a goal. I just don't. I just of course it's done. Just move on, next sort of thing. And he actually got me to stop and focus on his way of phrasing it was celebrate the done. So even if you say I'm going to get to class, once a month as a new parent, when you do it, stop and just have that time and just celebrate. You did it. It's different to what it used to be, but celebrate the done. You did that. It was a one goal. You ticked it off. Very cool. And I think if you can keep doing that, you stay in tune with the dance community, keep dancing, understand, like you say, it's a season. Things will be different. And then also maybe look for opportunities, like you say, about mentoring and other things that you can do within the community. I mean, I can't imagine how valuable the friendships your kids have with the other kids at your dance school. Like, if everything goes well and according to plan, in 10 years' time, 15 years' time, they'll be competing in juniors together. And you know what I mean? Like,
I'm sure there will be some of them. I doubt all of them.
Yeah,
some will present the dance school, but no doubt, I'm sure out of that many, there's bound to be a few. We joke about it, for sure.
But even if they don't, they'll have these friends that they had from being little kids in a safe environment with loving parents who, grew up in a great community, and so many life lessons there.
Yeah, but we've always hoped that our kids will want to, have similar interests to us just through osmosis and bringing them to these things. I mean, so far, Ada, she can triple step, but that's not her passion, and that's okay. If she grows to love this dance, that'll be great. If not, that's okay.
Yeah, that's awesome, guys. I want to thank you both for joining me and sharing your journey and a snippet to the rest of the world. I get comments all the time from people all over the world that listen to these podcasts, and sometimes I'm at an event and they go, they come up and they say, I saw this episode with such and such. And some of the guests that have been on, like Carl Ekman was telling me, he went to some event and he just had someone roll up and say, "You're Carl, I watched you talk about whatever." So I really do appreciate it. I'm sure that the listeners appreciate it too, especially if they're in this moment in time in their own lives where they're sort of struggling and trying to figure it out, or maybe they're about to. So I appreciate you sharing it, guys. And I'm super excited to get back to Simply Adelaide and see you guys there, and hopefully visit your new dance studio and see that before the event. That'll be really cool.
And stay for the Monday barbecue, which is always at our house.
Oh, man, I always miss that.
It's our favorite part.
I've already booked my plane ticket. Anyway, yeah, we'll do it one day.
Well, make sure everyone listening stays for the Monday barbecue.
Yeah, yes, there you go. Thanks very much for your time, guys. I appreciate it.
No worries, Steve.
Thanks so much.
Lovely chatting with you.